You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Coffee with Graeme is brought to you by our lovely sponsors here on the network on ASTV in AETI, Case Financial Group, Evolve Green, Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, and Toby Hockey. In today's edition of the show, we got a great lineup of guests for you guys. 3 people in total will be joining today's edition of the show. And starting off today's edition of Coffee with Graeme, Cody Wall joins his weekly segment here that we do every Tuesday, Off the Wall with Cody, to break down the past game that was covered here on ASTV on Sunday between the Westman Wildcats, the away team in that game, and the home team, the Pembina Valley Hawks, and some MFHL action on this past Sunday. And the Westman Wildcats ended up taking that one with a score of 3-2 over the Pembina Valley Hawks. Cody's going to be coming on the show to break down that game, talking about the biggest things that he saw in that game, and some other things as well to do with what happened in that Sunday contest in the MFHL in the 2021-2022 regular season. So without further ado, let's roll the intro of Coffee with Graeme and bring on Cody Wall on this edition of Off the Wall with Cody on Coffee with Graeme here on ASTV. And there he is, Cody Wall, joining this week's edition of Off the Wall with Cody on this Tuesday morning. Cody, how are you, man? Only one game on the network this past weekend on Sunday, but it was a good one between the Pembina Valley Hawks and Westman Wildcats, battling it out at the Access Events Center in Morden, Manitoba. But like I asked, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, man?
Doing great on this Tuesday morning. Feeling pretty chipper, and definitely was an entertaining game. We got to watch this last weekend. Only one game on the network, with our other games being postponed or canceled. But great to get on here today and to break down the games that we did get to call.
Yeah, always great to have you on the show, Cody, on your segment Off the Wall with Cody to break down the past weekend of games. And even though there was only one game, like I said, it was a good one. And I think you and as well as Seth could allude to that. 3-2 game won by the Westman Wildcats over the Pembina Valley Hawks. Westman came into this game after losing in probably, I'd say, a lot of people would agree with this, the biggest upset in the MFHL regular season this season to date, a 4-0 loss to the Interlake Lightning. The Hawks, for themselves, this was their only game of the weekend. But talk about how the Wildcats came out in this game, because they scored the opening goal of the game in the first period, ended up adding 2 more to their goal total in the second period. Just Westman's response, their bounce back from that big upset loss to the Interlake Lightning the day before.
Yeah, definitely. You could tell coming into this game that the Westman Wildcats were hungry to kind of avenge that loss that they were coming off of yesterday. As you mentioned, coming off a loss 4-0 to the Interlake Lightning, which ended up being the lowest tiered team so far in the league. Kind of, adding to that upset factor there, Graeme. But they were definitely hungry when they came out of the gates and trying to catch the Hawks flat-footed, but the Hawks did look good throughout the whole game, really matched the pace of the Wildcats as they kind of got hungry as the game progressed. And they opened up the scoring at 4:50 in the first period with a goal by Maya McGregor, and they kind of kept that momentum going in that first period into the second period, and then they kind of started to have their way at times with the Hawks. Really, it was a back and forth affair, but just a great overall game there, Graeme.
Yeah, and looking at the MFHL standings to, talk about how massive this win was for Interlake. That was their first win of the whole MFHL regular season until this point, improving their record to, at the end of their weekend, 1-17. I think they dropped their next game to the Yellowhead Chiefs 4-0. But, going back to this game that we're talking about, for Pembina Valley, of course, they didn't score any goals in that first period. They ended up scoring a goal in the second period to cut the lead down to, I'm not sure if it was they cut it down to 2-1 or 3-1, but they cut the lead down in the second and then scored in the third and shut Westman out in that period. Of course, the game ending 3-2. But Maya Pierce stepping up big time for the Hawks, scoring both of their goals. Talk about the performance from Maya Pierce for this Pembina Valley Hawks team in that loss that they had against Westman on Sunday.
Yeah, Maya Pierce, she missed a couple of games earlier this year with a hand injury, and coming into this year, this season, she was depended on as one of the assistant captains as part of that leadership group. And yesterday she really, Sunday, she really showed, why she was one of those leaders. Really, kind of getting rid of that label of just being a passer and kind of becoming a bit of a sniper yesterday, really registering all the goals for Pembina Valley and kind of doubling up her goal total for the year coming into yesterday, only registering 2 goals was Maya, now with 4 on the season after Sunday's affair.
Yeah, right on. And yeah, it all kind of gets muddled together, Cody, if it was rather yesterday or Sunday, right? So close from this segment when it's being recorded, of course, today live on Coffee with Graeme from 2 days ago on Sunday. But, Maya Pierce, her strong suit being a passer, but definitely showed she could score, and scoring 2 goals for the Hawks, unfortunately for them, falling short in that game, losing 3-2. But talking about the offense from the Westman Wildcats, of course, you talk about Maya McGregor, how she opened up the scoring in this game. They had, different goal scorers in this game all around. Haley Koloski and Marley Rutherford scored the other goals for the Westman Wildcats. Just talk about their depth for Westman. It's been so prevalent this year in terms of how that helped them out into winning this game, how that played a factor.
Yeah, looking at the lineups coming into the game, just looking at the offensive stats of the Wildcats, it looked like it was a little bit more spread out than the Pembina Valley Hawks, where they kind of have the Hawks have a couple of players have more points. The Wildcats really have a lot more players that kind of do it spread out through the lineup. All their players kind of registering right around that 10-point mark. Nobody really in that high teens, but kind of just by committee, the team worked real good as a one cohesive unit. And, they really came with their A game yesterday.
Yeah, and that's been a huge part of their success, is getting scoring from so many players on this team for Westman. You look at the stats and it's crazy how spread out the scoring is a true testament to scoring by committee for the Westman Wildcats this year. But talking about the shots now, Cody, in this game, Westman, they've gotten the upper hand in the shots in the past two matchups before this one against Pembina Valley in terms of outshooting them. Of course, the Hawks outshot the Wildcats in their first meeting of the season, and it went back to that same formula in this game as the Hawks outshot the Wildcats 39-30, and Grace Glover got the start for Westman. Kaylee Franz in net for the Pembina Valley Hawks. Just talk about the Hawks' ability to generate their chances in this game, obviously only getting 2 goals out of them, but just that ability to get as many shots as they did, out shooting the Westman Wildcats by a total of 9 shots in that differential, 39-30.
Yeah, the offensive forecheck from the Hawks was really strong on Sunday. You know, they were really putting everything they could every time they got a good chance or a chance that you can maybe see a rebound or get a chance off of it. They would throw it at the net because coming into the game, knowing Grace Glover as one of the premier goalies in the female hockey league, Manitoba Female Hockey League here. They knew they were going to have a tough test going up against her. And really, you could see by their game plan of taking a lot of shots and really not waiting for that perfect opportunity, going more by the quantity over quality shots.
Yeah, and speaking of Grace Glover, like I mentioned to you before we started recording the segment for this week earlier on this morning, Grace Glover, you mentioned it, led the MFHL in wins heading into the game on Sunday. Of course, she's tied for the league lead in wins now, along with Sydney McMullen of Yellowhead. Grace and Sydney both having 10, but Grace 10-2 on the season, a .924 save percentage, 1.96 goals against average, and she was on the top of her game once again yesterday. A goaltender that got named to the provincial Manitoba team for that Western Regionals women's U18 championships in 2021 in November. But how Grace was able to come out in this game and really play her game, having another dominant performance out there.
Yeah, she really looked poised out there. Even though she did see a lot of shots, there weren't a lot of bad rebounds that squeaked out that I seen from Grace there. She really was able to, when she saw a shot, was able to either deflect it to a better area where maybe a defenseman could pick up and kind of break it out of their own zone, or she'd suck it up and be able to freeze it for a whistle when her team maybe was running around. Because they did find in the second and third period, there were times where it looked like Westman was running around when Pembina Valley did get their chances and was able to get wound up. But Grace was up to the task on everyone.
Penalties were a theme for the Pembina Valley Hawks last week in their game against the Winnipeg Avros, taking a total of 10 penalty minutes, putting the Avros on the girl advantage 5 times. Of course, the Hawks killed all 5 of those off. I'm not sure what happened in Sunday's game, but the Hawks and Wildcats pretty even in penalty minutes, almost even for that matter. The Hawks taking 8 total penalty minutes and the Wildcats taking 6 penalty minutes. Talk about how both of these teams look both on the power play. We'll start off with that on the power play first off, when they did get their chances.
Yeah, both power plays looked real strong. The Wildcats were able to get one of their goals on the end of a power play there. And, really their special teams looked good. And for the Pembina Valley Hawks, they were cycling quite well like they normally do. And we're trying to find those open areas. There was a couple times where the Westman Wildcat penalty kill was able to kind of get a stick on a loose puck. But for the most part, that would be what I would say the strongest part of the Hawks game yesterday. Even though they didn't register power play goal, was their power play, the way they were able to cycle it and generate so much pressure and momentum from their power plays.
Yeah, for sure. And, that was something that they struggled against the Abros with doing, was that power play, really getting into their zone, with the exception of that one goal that they got on the power play on that first one that they had out of the two against the Abros, kind of a freak play there where the puck bounced to an unlucky place for the Abros. The Hawks on that second power play couldn't get out of their zone. So nice to know that that power play had more action, had more generated opportunities against a very good defensive Westman Wildcats team. But talk about the two penalty kills for these two teams, the Hawks and the Wildcats, how they look. You talk about how the power plays both look strong for these teams, but how did the penalty kill fare for both these teams, the Hawks and Wildcats, in Sunday's game?
So I'm going to start off with the Hawks penalty kill. I thought they looked pretty good when they did get the chance as well. They were able to get some active sticks. Other than, a couple of breakdowns, they were pretty well perfect, other than, like I said, just the one or two. For the most part, they were able to keep everything to the outside and, were able to apply pressure at the right moments. And then the Westman Wildcats, they were able to keep the Hawks to the outside, but for the most part, I did think that the Hawks penalty kill would have gotten a slight advantage, just the way they were able to kind of control the penalty kill for the majority of it, opposed to, even though the Wildcats didn't get scored on when they were on the penalty kill, just the way that the Hawks were able to control the game when the Hawks were on the power play and the Wildcats were on the penalty kill. It really felt to me that the Hawks were able to, even though they weren't able to get offense from it on the score sheet, they were able to generate enough momentum that kind of propelled them later on in the game to make a bit of a comeback.
Ending off with this question here, Cody, I think you'd allude to this. It was a very back and forth game against the Hawks and Wildcats on Sunday. Of course, a 1-goal game, 3-2, another close game between the two teams this season, with the Wildcats coming out on top for the fourth time against this Hawks team. But what would you say was probably the biggest difference in this game between the two teams on Sunday for the Wildcats to be able to get the win?
That's a good question, Graeme. There was a lot of good things that both teams were doing. The biggest difference maker, I think I would have to say, would have been, especially for the Westman Wildcats, Grace Glover. She really was phenomenal in that game, able to block a majority of the shots. Kaylee Franz, who got the start for the Hawks, looked good as well. A couple of missed plays that were a little fluky that got by her. Other than that, she was just near perfect. And then a player I really liked for the Pembina Valley Hawks, who I thought stood out a lot, was Maya Pierce. She really the one play specifically that I kind of thinking back of was when the Hawks had a goal called off. Got a face-off just to the glove hand side of Grace Glover, and Maya Pierce, after Abby Bordedwy won the face-off, just kind of walked in and willed her way to kind of put the puck in the net there right after the no goal call. And that really, to me, felt like, in the moment, I thought the Hawks were off of that, going to be able to kind of propel their way back to the win. But I really felt like that was a big moment for Maya Pierce.
Well, I had to leave you with a tougher question to end off this week's edition of your segment here, Cody. The Hawks and the Wildcats battled it out for the fourth time, meeting each other for the fourth time in the MFHL regular season here in the 2021-2022 regular season. Of course, the Wildcats coming out with the win. They moved to 15-5 on the season, while the Pembina Valley Hawks fall to 9-11 on the season, still under 500 in terms of their record this season in their MFHL regular season. But Cody, once again, thanks for coming on your segment again this week. Off the Wall with Cody Wall on this Tuesday morning. Until we do it again next week on Tuesday, Cody, you stay safe and take care, man.
Thanks, Graeme. We'll talk to you next week.
Cody Wall joining his segment on this Tuesday, as always, on Off the Wall with Cody, breaking down the past weekend, the one game that we saw here on ASTV on Sunday between the Westman Wildcats and Pembina Valley Hawks. And, not only the Pembina Valley Hawks and Westman Wildcats were in action on Sunday, but there were other teams throughout the whole weekend in the MFHL that were in action. And that brings me to the first part of this week's edition of League Report, bringing it back. It's been a while since I've shown you guys one of these, just the past schedule of games, the scores from the past weekend of games throughout the league's weekend/week. And yeah, going to be showing you guys that, as well as the updated standings in leagues, as well as talking about, showing you guys the statistic leaders in the league, the points leaders, the goal leaders, the assist leaders, as well as the win leaders in the league. And since me and Cody just talked about the MFHL, that game between the Pembina Valley Hawks and the Westman Wildcats, I'm going to be showing you guys the league report from the MFHL. First off, to start things off here. So just got to bring this up now. Just got to find it here. There it is. So just looking at the past weekend of games here in the MFHL, taking a look back on Friday, on January 14th, the Winnipeg Ice ended up beating the Central Plains Capitals 3-1. The Winnipeg Avros on Saturday ended up beating the Central Plains Capitals 6-3. The Avros, as you guys see there, had 5 goals in the third period, a very strong period from them. They were actually down in that game, as you guys do see by the scoreboard, 2-1 heading into that period, but the Avros finishing strong, proving why they are the best team in the MFHL at this point. And as mentioned, the Interlake Lightning on Saturday night with the biggest upset of the season so far in the MFHL, with a 4-0 win, a shutout win over one of the best teams in the league in the Westman Wildcats. Of course, the Yellowhead Chiefs in their game in Shoal Lake at home, winning 6-2. 4 goals in that third period for them to propel them to that 6-2 win over the Eastman Selects. And then moving into the 4 games that were played on Sunday, the Winnipeg Avros playing their crosstown rivals at the Bell MTS Iceplex, winning that game in a shootout 4-3. The Yellowhead Chiefs beating the Interlake Lightning in a shutout 4-0. The Westman Wildcats, of course, the game that Cody broke down, winning 3-2 over Pembina Valley, and the Eastman Selects winning 3-2 in a shootout over the Central Plains Capitals. Now, moving over to the standings in the league, looking at it, the Avros continuing their strong season, continuing their hold on first place with an 18-2-1 record with 37 points. The Yellowhead Chiefs 1 point behind them with an 18-4 record. Westman in third place with a 15-5 record. The Winnipeg Ice with a 12-8-3 record. In fourth place, Pembina Valley, the Hawks, bit of a drop off, quite a bit of a drop off after the Ice's place in the standings from the Pembina Valley Hawks place in the standings. As you see, 27 points for the Ice and 18 points for the Pembina Valley Hawks on the season. 9 wins, 11 losses. The Eastman Selects in that 6th place spot with a 6-15-1 record. The Central Plains Capitals in 7th place, back of the Eastman Selects by 1 point for a tie in 6th place at this point. The Central Plains Capitals with a 4-12-4 record. And of course, the Interlake Lightning, even though they are still in last place by quite a large margin, they finally get a win on the season, that huge one over the Westman Wildcats with a 1-17 record on their season as of now. Now, taking a look at the league leaders, not the league leaders, taking a look at the stats that these teams have. Of course, the Yellowhead Chiefs continue to have the most goals for in the league with 94 goals, 14 more than the second best team in that category, the Winnipeg Avros, who have 80. Of course, the Interlake Lightning all the way at the bottom with 19 goals in 18 games played, just over a goal per game for that team in total. And then looking at the goals against, the Winnipeg Avros continue to be the best defensive team in the league statistically, with the least goals against in the league allowed, with 37 goals against. The Westman Wildcats, they're the second best in terms of least goals given up, with 45 goals against. And then you guys can see here, as the list goes on and on, the teams here who have let up the most goals. The Eastman Selects and the Interlake Lightning tied for both for the most goals given up as a team in the league, with 71 each given up. Now, going into the league leaders now in the MFHL, get into that. You're going to see here the leading point getters in the league. Nora Collins and Maya Eamon tied for the league in points with 34 points each. Abby Bordedwy and Hannah Raig with 27 points each. They are tied for third, I guess, in points, you can call it that. And then Kaylin Wisner for the Avros with 25 points in 21 games, making her fifth in the league for points. Two Winnipeg Avros in the top five for points in the league. And then you look at the goals here. There's a tie for fifth in terms of who has the most goals in the league between Danica Botterill for the Central Plains Capitals and Levi Durkach for the Yellowhead Chiefs. They both have 12 each. Darby Poole having a good season with 16 goals in 22 games played for Yellowhead. Maya Eamon, of course, has 18 goals. She's tied with Abby Bordedwy, both of those players having 18. And Nora Collins separating herself from the rest of the pack at this point in the season with 24 goals in 19 games played, making her the league leader in goals so far this season. And then taking a look at the assist leaders here, Kaylin Wisner leading the league in assists by 2 over Hannah Raig with 20 assists in 21 games played. Of course, Hannah Raig with 18 assists, 2 back of the assists lead in the league with 18 assists. Maya Eamon 2 assists behind her with 16 assists in 23 games played. And then Louise Ferguson with 15 assists in 22 games played. She leads all defensemen in assists this season, as you guys can see, the only defenseman in the top 5 in assists. And Ava Bergman for the Winnipeg Ice having a productive season for herself in the assist category with 14 assists in 23 games played. And then finishing off with this, the league leaders in wins, of course, Grace Glover and Sydney McMullen, as mentioned in the segment Off the Wall with Cody earlier on in this episode, as we just did that segment. Grace and Sydney, both with 10 wins each. Pretty good save percentage, too. You look at Jenna Gordson and Yanina Karitanovic for the Winnipeg Avros, both with 9 wins each. And then Natalie Rampton for the Yellowhead Chiefs, with 8 wins on her season, only 1 loss for her as well. So that's going to do it for the first part of League Report in today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. Of course, stick around throughout the show, as I'll be giving you guys some updates on, the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League, what's happened in the past weekend and /weekend in that league, as well as the standings in that league, where the teams sit at this point, the league leaders, as well as talking about the stats for these teams as well. And also going to be talking about the MMJHL, talking about the same things like I just did with the MFHL, and going to be talking about the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League as well. But for the first time in today's episode, we're going to go to a commercial break. Coming up after the commercial break, I'm going to be talking to one of the best players in the MMJHL, and Ben Coppinger, number 21, team captain of the St. Vital Junior Victorias. Ben is going to be joining the show to talk about the season he's been having, talking about his career so far with the St. Vital Junior Victorias, as well as talking about the places that he's played other than playing for St. Vital in the MM. He's played for the Prince George Cougars in the WHL, played for the Selkirk Steelers in the MJHL, and has also played AAA throughout his lifetime. Going to be excited to talk to Ben about that after this first set of commercial breaks on this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. Stick around, everybody.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions, everybody. Hopefully everybody is doing well who is tuning in on this Tuesday morning. I know that we got a pretty big snowfall yesterday, the snowstorm. I know I went outside late at night at some point last night, I guess earlier this morning, you can call it that. And yeah, the snow was falling, and I'm going to have a lot of shoveling to do after this interview, that's for sure. But after this episode and after these interviews that I do in today's edition of the show. But Cody Wall joined the show first here on this Tuesday morning on Off the Wall with Cody to break down the past Sunday game that we saw here 2 days ago on ASTV between the Westman Wildcats and the Pembina Valley Hawks. Of course, the Westman Wildcats taking that game with a score of 3-2. Of course, after that segment with Cody, if you guys want to check out, what's been happening in the past weekend in the MFHL, how the other teams in the league fared in their matchups, as well as where the teams sit in the standings, how the teams are doing statistically in terms of the goals that they've scored, the goals that the teams have led up, as well as the league leaders in the league in terms of point leaders, goal leaders, assist leaders, as well as win leaders for goaltenders. Be sure to check that out. And if you want to check out the rest of the MFHL stats, be sure to visit MFHL's website at MFHLU18AAA.com. I did the first edition of League Report today. Going to be doing some more League Report as the show goes along, but did the first edition of League Report after the Off the Wall with Cody segment this week. But talking to a very good junior hockey player here coming up, a player that's had a lot of experience playing in the MMJHL, team captain for the St. Vital Victorias, number 21, Ben Coppinger. Ben, joining the show on this Tuesday morning. Ben, how are you, man? I can't see you right now. Is there any way you could put your camera on?
There we go.
Figured it out. Now, Ben, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, man? Thanks for joining the show.
Great. About yourself, Graeme? Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I know that you had classes earlier today. Before coming on this interview, how did class go today for you?
Yeah, no, it was good. I just had some schoolwork I had to get done. I'm at U of M right now, so everything is kind of been crazy, the whole COVID situation. So classes have kind of been delayed, and there's obviously been that strike. So still kind of figuring that stuff out towards the end of my semester, and then moving on into the next one. But yeah,
right.
it was awesome.
Right on. Great to hear things are going well with you in school there, Ben. And, things are going really good for you so far this year in the MMJHL, along with the rest of your team. You guys are in fourth place right now. Looking at the season you've been having so far, just looking at it, 10 goals, 25 assists for 35 points in the games that you've played so far. Talk about how nice it is to be back, first off, playing hockey this year in the MM.
Yeah, that's for sure the first thing, Graeme. I know that I was looking the other day, and as a 21-year-old, this would be technically my fifth season in the league, but I've only played 100-something games just because of injuries and COVID and kind of everything that's been going on for a lot of us in our junior careers. So it's great to be back out here. Last year we were unfortunate we only played 5 or 7 games, something like that, but to be able to actually get the season going this year and to keep it going has been awesome. And I know a lot of guys on our team have loved it, including myself. So
yeah, for sure. And for yourself, like you said, it's technically your fifth year, but you haven't played the full 5 years in the league. Of course, last season, no one got to play a full season due to COVID-19 canceling the whole year. But you've had a chance to play in many different places throughout your junior career, playing in the WHL for the Prince George Cougars for 18 games back in 2017-18. Just must have been a surreal experience playing against the best players at the junior level in Western Canada. Talk about that experience, even though it's a while ago, playing in the WHL for Prince George.
Yeah, of course. It was awesome. It would have been my grade 12 year. So just ending high school, I got a call from Prince George just kind of that summer. So in August that they wanted me to come out to camp. So it's kind of just a spur of the moment. I wasn't sure whether or not I had a spot on the team or anything like that. It was just, an invite to camp, and I kind of took it. I'd been drafted to Edmonton earlier in the Bantam draft, and Edmonton was a good team with a lot of young guys, and it was a hard roster to crack. So I kind of ended up getting myself kind of open and free in the market, and Prince George was the team that was looking, for some guys, and they invited me out, and I just kind of, excelled from there and stayed with the team. So it was an awesome experience. The amount of hockey you play and the level of hockey that you play with your not only your teammates, but obviously the opponents and the other teams in the league, and just kind of that atmosphere. It's kind of one step up from everything else. You really feel, it's all business, right? It feels like your job every day. You're at the rink, and it's all you're really focused on is kind of hockey and that end goal. So playing on Prince George, I'd never really been much in BC, so another bonus. A lot of traveling, a lot of bus rides, but they can be they're grueling, but you get there's a lot of bonding that goes on and a lot of team camaraderie that's built. So getting to travel BC with a lot of my close friends that I still talk to today, it's quite an experience.
Yeah, for sure. And, you talk about how you were a draft pick to Edmonton, tough to crack that roster, and then you get the call from Prince George, end up playing there. And you talk about the level of competition that you played against. Talk about what that experience was like for you, just getting adjusted to the competition you played against in the league that year in terms of, in the games you played.
Yeah, so I would say I was 17. It would have been the year after I played my second year of provincial midget. So the big difference for sure was just speed and size, right? These guys were, I was playing kids that were a little bit younger than me, and I was more so kind of the older age. And then you go to junior and you're starting to play against 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds when you're a 16, 17-year-old kid, and these guys are big and fast, and they can shoot harder than you, they can skate faster than you, they can hit harder than you. So you got to find ways to assert yourself into the lineup and, to be noticed and to be effective. And I think that was the big thing, was adjusting and realizing, that all these guys are good, right? There's nobody out here is a scrub, right? All these guys are top end players. So it's trying to find, pushing yourself to find that next gear to try to keep yourself in the lineup. I know for me as a young guy, I was in and out of the lineup, and it was, every shift every shift I had to kind of focus to, what can I do? If I get one shot here, if I get a couple shots here, if I can block a few shots and get a puck out, maybe I'll get the few extra shifts in the third and then kind of go from there. So that was the big adjustment, was you realize how fine-tuned everyone's game is, especially at that level, and that, there's just minor differences between players, just kind of skill sets and levels that you have to really bear down and find a way to stay consistent when you're out there, and kind of push yourself to find that next gear always, because everyone else is in top gear all the time. So
Yeah, for sure. And of course, you only got a chance to play 18 games with that team, but then you
yeah,
come back to Manitoba. You had a short stint in the MJ with the Selkirk Steelers, of course, returning to the Vicks at some point in your career and, after playing with Prince George. But talk about how those experiences in the WHL that you had really helped you moving forward as a player into, getting back into the leagues here in Manitoba in the MJ, as well as the where you've, spent the majority of your junior career, how those experiences help you from the WHL.
Yeah, I think the big thing would be, when I look at it, is the amount of ice time you play is kind of indicative of the skill level you start to, really practice, right? The 10,000 hour rule, right? You realize that when you're really on the ice, what I brought back was, you can get better every day. You can get better every ice time. Every ice time you can get more confidence. You can feel better about your game, especially in places like that where you're playing all the time, and sometimes, game 20 and it's game 2 or 3 on the road, and sometimes it's easy to kind of just be checked out. But I think the coming back here, the experiences I learned was, your skill set and your skill level is always indicative of the work you put in at practice. And I think that's the big thing that I've tried to bring back to not only my St. Vital team, but, kind of to myself. And when I was in Selkirk and in different places, pay attention to every drill, really bear down and focus. And if you really, work on your craft and work on your game, every day you'll get a little bit better. And that was kind of the big thing that I learned from BC, because, a lot of those older guys that I played with, Chalowski and some of these guys that went on to go play in the NHL and things like that, those guys were there early every day, and they were there late. And it's just like the cliche says, they were, first one's in, last one's out. Always putting in, every pass was as hard as they could. Every stride was as hard as they could. They were there to have fun, and obviously they loved the rink, but once you were on the ice, it was all business. And I think that was a big thing that I brought back was, it doesn't matter how many ice times you get or how much you're on the ice. Like, you just have to take advantage. And if you focus really in on kind of every drill and just kind of every moment, then you can soak it all in and really advance your game. So that'd be the one thing I brought back for sure. It's just, focus aspect of the game.
Yeah. And, it's benefited you well throughout your career. I mean, you've been over a point per game player in all your seasons except for last year, but I don't really count last year since it was only 5 games played, right? You even had 4 points in those 5 games. But talking about your overall career in the MMJHL, 105 total games played, 49 goals, 90 assists for 139 points. By the stats, more of a playmaker. Talk about your playmaking abilities out there. What makes you such a good playmaker in terms of you seeing the ice and being able to feed your teammates?
Yeah, 105 games only. Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. It seems like it should be way more than that, but I think I've always been a kind of a pass first player. That's my game, and I'm a heads up guy. I play with I play the puck on my stick, but I love to move it and kind of give and go with teammates and use the ozone and use the space that I'm given. As a smaller guy, you kind of got to figure out your skill set, and for me personally, I think it was quick and speed and kind of just agility. 200 feet from my net, I'm good down low. I can make plays from anywhere, the corner, the side. So I find that in this league, I play with a lot of good players actually, and a lot of good goal scorers. So it's kind of benefited my game in that sense. I know early on, I was playing with Riley Boschman a little bit, and he was quite the goal scorer. Every game it seemed like I could put a few in the net. So that's kind of just how my game's evolved. I like to find, keep my teammates involved, and that's kind of that's the main thing that surrounds my game would be my passing. And, I always look for the better shot versus my shot. So I wouldn't say I'm the Austin Matthews of a sniper. So, looking for a one-timer backdoor is always an okay option. But when I look at that, yeah, I think especially in this league, there's, you can really, there's times where you can really attack and you can control kind of the zone and control shifts in that sense. And I think, good puck movement really gets teams running around, and that's kind of where I base my game off of, just creating space for myself and others. So,
you talk about how you played with some phenomenal players in the WHL, right? Guys who ended up moving up to playing in the NHL. I mean, talking about Riley Beauchemin, I mean, he was like the best player in the throughout his career. You had a chance to play with him for a short stint. Talk about what that was like playing with Riley throughout, your season 2018-19, being able to, learn from him and, be able to really soak in all the things that, he taught you and the things that he was bringing out there on the table on the ice.
Yeah. So I came back, it would have been 17. Riley was at the time a 19 or 20-year-old. He probably had one more year, I think. But he was kind of like the superstar, right? So I came back to a Vic's team that I didn't know much about, and he was the captain and he was the leading scorer. And the coach at the time had kind of told me, we're going to try to play you with him, and we want to play you on the top line and see what you can do. And, he's going to bark at you and he's going to yell at you, and he's not going to give you any special treatment because he's an intense guy. And I learned that quite quickly. But I think that the big thing I learned from Riley was, the same thing that I kind of brought back from junior, but he was a great example of that, was his every shift was just, all in. And then he'd come back to the bench, and if it didn't go his way, he was intense. He was upset, and then he was just boom on to the next one. So he geared himself up for every shift like he was going to war, and then once it was over, boom, it was on to the next one. So the kid had the shortest memory and probably the hardest shot in the league. So every time he missed the net, he was right back out there firing again. So I think that's the big thing I took from Riley was, it didn't matter what was going on in the game. He was never really feeling out a game. He just played his game, and his game was attack. So it was attack with speed. It was fire pucks. It was get to the net. And he was a hell of a shooter. He knew how to score. So coming back that first year, I didn't really know what to expect, but I knew playing with Riley that it would kind of jumpstart my career for sure. And I think it was great to kind of just throw me into the fire there and put me in with those guys, because I played with Beauchemin, and Mike Berard was our other winger, and Mikey was quite the player too. So it was awesome to get started in there.
Yeah, right on. And you spoke about how, like, when you came back, you weren't quite familiar with the team because, right, coming into a newer situation. But as the years have gone along, you've had a chance to get really familiar with this team, right, as much time as you spent with them. Talk about how that familiarity, with the organization, especially the coach that you're getting coached by now, Jeff Mitchell, is, helped you get more comfortable in this league in the with the teammates you've been able to play with.
Yeah, no, Jeff. So Jeff's been the head coach for most of my career in St. Vital. The first year we were there, we had Coach Butters. I think he's in Pembina Valley now, but I could be wrong on that one. I think I'm just guessing at this point. But Jeff has. I've known Jeff for a long time. I grew up, working out at Southdale and skating with Larry Wu and Laker Academy, and Jeff was always a instructor there and kind of a big part of our development on the ice, helping out Larry. And as his career moved on and his coaching status moved up, and he was on his way to Selkirk, and Selkirk was actually the team that had drafted me in the MJ draft in my, 15-year-old year. So Jeff had known about me, and we had been good buddies, just kind of from Laker Academy. He was kind of our coach and instructor, and then he was one of the guys who insisted, kind of help me get to Selkirk and get into that program. So when it came to St. Vital, he came in, and I knew of Jeff, and I knew kind of what he was looking to do, and just kind of brought a new image to our team. We had younger guys, and we had some guys that were more committed, and Jeff wanted to bring a more junior A atmosphere into, St. Vital and into our program. And I think that's kind of helped us stay competing for a title the last few years for sure, and we've had some good teams. So it's awesome to have kind of a friend in that sense as your coach, right? Someone you respect, and then someone who respects you back, and someone that you can give back. You know, you can give a little and you can get a little from. So I've appreciated Jeff's 4 years here. He's put in a lot of effort and kind of helping us and this team, you know, get to a winning mentality and winning record, and then obviously competing for a championship this year. So as a 21 is my final year, this is kind of the go time to do it. So
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, your teammate Dorian, I've had him on the show, and, you know, he was super psyched about getting back and playing this year, which is awesome. All the bets for sure this season, with it being your guys' last season as the 2000 born players. But yeah, I mean, the team has been winning quite a bit this year. I mean, 4th place in the league, 16, 8-3 record. You guys are pretty dominant at home with a 10-3 record. Second most goals per game in the league. Pretty good defensive team, you know, good on special teams as well. But this is a younger team this season. For you wearing the C this season, what's that been like, you know, being the captain, trying to lead a younger group of boys this year, even though you guys do have some experience with the vets that are on this team?
Yeah, it's been it hasn't been much of a challenge, actually. I was going to say it's been challenging, but not really. You know, the guys have been awesome. Even the young guys, you know, they're committed and they show up to practice, and you know they get along with their teammates, and nobody's out there, you know, thinking about just themselves. And it's a great group of guys. I think the young core knows each other as well, so it's kind of an easy core to kind of get familiar with and be friends with, just because in that sense they're already good buddies, right? So it's kind of just all a big clown show in the dressing room anyway. But I would say the big thing for me is I found that I talked to Jeff a little bit about it, but with the younger guys especially is vocal, just on the ice, how vocal you can be, and it's essentially my body language and how I kind of present myself on the bench is a big thing too. I think guys read off me, and a lot of our older guys. I know Bullock on my team, and you know, some of our older vets, like especially on the D and the forward side, like they look down the bench, and you can kind of get that positive or negative body language. So I've been really keen on not only being vocal with the guys on the ice, you know, talking to them, but always just in a positive way, right? Like these are young guys learning. You know, some of these guys are just coming out of high school, like they haven't played any junior hockey, and so I think just kind of leading by example and staying positive keeps them on their toes, keeps them excited. And then, yeah, that extra level of just being vocal, you know, always talking on the ice, helping out D-men kind of behind the net in our zone and things like that. It's been a fun challenge. Hasn't really been crazy challenging. I've played with some great young guys, Netraduke and Ruben even having a great season. I've got to play a lot with them. So I think just as an all-around team, it's younger, but I think also very skilled team that so it's been really fun to play with at the same time. So
yeah, and you know, Tyler Rubini, second on the team in points behind you, of course. You lead the team in points this year as well as an assist, top 10 in the league in points as well for yourself. But yeah, I've had a chance to talk to Rylan Netraduke, you know, Netchy as you boys call him. I'm sure that's his nickname. But, you know, you talk about it. You've played with those guys quite a bit this season. What about the line you're playing on now? You know, the guys you're gelling with on the line at this point.
Yeah, so it's Jeff and Paul. So Paul Cassis, our assistant coach, he's kind of our offensive coach. They're always adamant, you know, trying to find you know, kind of connections between players and kind of the chemistry and what they're looking for. You know, we're always looking to kind of get the best line matching, and so sometimes I'm out there with different wingers a lot of the time, but I think for the last few while, Rubini and Netch have kind of been my wingers, and we've played some really good games together and had some big games. So, you know, just kind of every game building that chemistry with those guys. You know, they're big young guys who can move and they can shoot. So for me as a playmaker, it's quite easy to play with. You know, they get open and they know how to get open, and I can just find them in that sense. But it's been a good year when I look at our team, just because I think we've had really spread out scoring in a sense, right? We have kind of a 3 lines that can score And then also on the back end, we get some good offense from Bullock and a handful of guys, Gagnon and Chiquette, and a lot of these guys, Mello, can really rush the puck. So we as a team think that, scoring is not really our issue. At this point, it's just fine tuning the little details in our own zone. And I think that's kind of take us to the next level. But especially my line, these young guys, they came right into the league, Rubany and actually they've done a hell of a job with me. So no complaints there.
Yeah, and you guys have started off strong since coming back from the break. The team is 2-1-1 in the 2022 portion of the season. Only 4 games played so far, and you guys played most recently against the St. James Junior Canucks. Lost that game at home. It was a close one. I believe the score was 5-3. But talk about that game. Playing up against a team like the Junior Canucks, a team that has established themselves as a top 2 team in the league at this point in the season by the standings. How they were able to get the upper hand on you guys in that last home game you guys had.
Yeah, so, St. James is a good team. They've got 4 full lines kind of, on their front end, and on their back end, same thing. They got 6 good demons. So we look at those games, and as a team, we fire ourselves up for those. The league this year is it's kind of scattered between, 2 groups, right? There's a top group, and then there's a little bit more of a bottom group. And I think we want to, as a team, our goal is we always try to, we're psyching ourselves up for those St. James games, those Transcona games, those Pembina Valley games. We want to beat those teams above us, and we want to be the kind of the top team in the league, or the top 2 teams in the league, and that's always been our goal. So when I look back at the game we played against St. James at St. Patel, I would say that it was a step in the right direction. It was a good game. Sometimes things don't go your way. You get a few bounces, tough goals, but 5-3 goal. I think it was an empty netter they scored at the end there to make it 5-3. But 1-goal games, I think as a team, we're a younger team, and I just kind of let the guys know, right? Like, we're going to be in these close games, and especially with a team like St. James, they've got good players. Transcona, right? Good solid lineup. You're going to have to, every shift, you're going to have to go out there and put your best foot forward. There's no taking breaks. Those few lapses you take against these top teams, and it's kind of in the back of your net. So that would be the big takeaway from that game. I think just kind of minor mistakes that we can limit. That would be costing us goals against, and maybe in that game, if clean up our own end, if for a few shifts, then it's more of a 3-2 game, and maybe we get away with the win. So I think we're right there, and I'm glad there's still 20 games left to kind of fine tune that and gear ourselves up. So great game. St. James is a good team, and I'm excited to play them again. So.
Yeah, and you talk about the teams like Transcona, St. James, as well as Pembina Valley, very experienced teams, and you guys got a bunch of skill, but are a younger team. To be in games, tight games with these teams throughout the year is just a testament to, how you guys are building and, how skilled this team is. And like you said, just got to, clean up the minor details and maybe get, a few wins on these guys as the season goes along here. But huge game coming up for you guys on Thursday at home, gearing up for another top team in the league and the Pembina Valley Blisters. The mindset heading into that one, as well as the game on Friday against another top team in the Transcona, Railer Express.
Yeah, these are big games. So we had a meeting before practice yesterday, and kind of talking about where we want to head towards the end of the season here and kind of our second half. These are big games. We're only 5 points behind Pembina Valley. I think they have a game in hand on us. So when I look at that game on Thursday, that's a game that we want to win. We want to catch those guys, and we want to make our way up the standings. And it's a team that we can beat. And I think every game's gonna be close. We're gonna have to fight and claw kind of to the bitter end of it. But I think this is a big test for us this weekend to see kind of where we're at and where we're moving toward. If we can get 1 or 2 wins this weekend, there's no reason we can't get 2 wins. But if we can get 1 or 2, I think that we're moving in the right direction, and we're kind of building that. We're building up in that top level with those top teams. So I think that's kind of our goal. I know that there's a lot of games coming up against top teams in the second half, and I think our major goal is preparing and practice and getting ready and getting the mindset ready to be in full gear for those games. So I'm excited for this weekend. big games. I love playing in East End on a Friday. Doesn't get much better than that. So, and then in Pembina Valley at home. So we've been really good at home. So I would think that it's going to be another good battle and a good test for us on Thursday, and I'm excited. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like you said, and like I said, 2 big games coming up for you guys on Thursday and Friday against 2 top teams in this league. Ben, best of luck to you and the team, not only this weekend, but moving forward in the season, man. Hoping the best to you and the rest of the boys moving forward here, especially yourself in your last season in the MMJHL. Thanks for joining the show here today.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Graeme, and thanks for having me.
Of course, man. You take care.
Yeah, you too.
Ben Coppinger on this edition of the of Coffee with Graeme from the MMJHL. St. Vital Victoria's captain, number 25. No, not number 25. Number 21. It's his 5th year in the league, technically, even though he hasn't played a full 5 seasons as of yet. Not going to reach that mark at all. But yeah, great to have Ben on the show here today to, talk about all the great things that me and him talked about. So coming up after this next commercial break, I'm going to be sitting down with a goaltender that played a season in the MMJHL for the Fort Garry Twins back in 2019-2020. He's now on the University of Manitoba Bisons. It's going to be Brett Murphy joining the show next year on Coffee with Graeme after this next set of commercial breaks. Stick with me as Brett Murphy, goaltender for the University of Manitoba Bisons, joins the show after these commercial breaks here on Coffee with Graeme.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
And welcome back to this edition of Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. It is 5 after 11 on this Tuesday morning, and most recently on the show, number 21, not number 25, as I said. Sorry, I got that wrong, folks. But number 21, captain of the St. Vital Junior Victorias in the MMJHL, Ben Coppinger, joined the show to talk about his season, just his career in hockey, and just how the season has been going with the Vics, their upcoming matchups, of course. Ben is having a very productive season so far, top 10 in the league in points, 10 goals, 25 assists, 35 points, leads his team in points and assists, and looking to keep the good season going, as well as his team looking to grab at least a win over these 2 big dogs coming up for them on their schedule this weekend. But welcome back to the show, everybody. Joining me now on this edition of Coffee with Graeme is goaltender for the University of Manitoba Bisons men's hockey team, Brett Murphy. Brett, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, man? I know you had practice earlier this morning. Great to have you on the show, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's nice to meet you. Practice early in the morning. Got the school schedule to do in the afternoon. So it's usually what we're doing is hockey in the morning and taking the rest of the day to get our exams done. So.
Right on. And yeah, nice to meet you too, man. Excited to do this. My uncle Mark, I know that, you're familiar with him, sent me your contact information to get in contact with you for this interview. And Talking about the early morning practices, obviously that's part of the university hockey lifestyle for you guys. What's the experience been like for you so far? Experiencing being on this team so far this year for you,
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. It's been really good. We're on the ice 4 times a week and then 2 games on the weekend. So we're basically on the ice, I think 8:30 till 10, and then we work out usually from 11 to 11:30ish, 11:45, and then you get home and you're right to the books for the rest of the day. So with COVID, it's not been anything new for a lot of these guys, right? Because all you're doing is at the rink, at the gym, then locked in your room doing school, right? So it's been awesome though. Really good guys in the team. I'm the youngest one there. I'm 19, so lots of these guys are post junior years, so I'm around 23, 24, 25, so it's a different room aspect for me too. So
right. And you've had a chance to play with older players throughout the past 2 seasons for the Fort Garry Twins back in 2019-20, and for the Dryden Ice Dogs last season for a short stint in 2 games. But just talking about the decision you made to play for this University of Manitoba Bisons team, what it came down to, switching over to university hockey rather than playing junior hockey.
Yeah. It was a tough decision actually. It took me it was really tough to make a decision of what I wanted to do this year for hockey. I love Dryden. Dryden was awesome. Actually, I was there for about 5 months, but we had 8 exhibition games and then 2 season games because of COVID. So I was there for quite a while. A great family out there, great team, great coaches. But when I came back, I figured, if I play my junior career out, where am I going to end up? Looking 2-3 years down the road. And the Bisons was always been a passion of mine to play for university. My goalie coach Byron Spriggs came from the Bisons. A lot of coaches that have been my coaches, Justin Pollock, Tyler Brown, all Bison goalies. So when it came down to it, I'm like, well, I want to play junior and then play for the Bisons. And I was talking to the head coach Mike Sarant, and there's a spot open this year. So I was like, hey, I got to shoot my shot, and while I can, while it's there, and that's how it worked out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shot your shot, and you end up on this University of Manitoba Bisons team. Youngest player on the team, like you said, playing with older guys, and like I said, you've had a chance to play with older guys. I mean, playing junior with the Twins as well as the Ice Dogs, but these guys you're playing with now a bit older. In terms of the age limit, the age level that these guys can play at. Talk about what the differences in that. Playing against even older guys this time around.
Yeah, and honestly, it's funny. It's nothing new with the Twins. Right, I was 17, and a lot of those guys were, I guess, 20, right. 21, and it's definitely interesting because you kind of get seen as the young guy in the room. Same with the Bisons. A lot of these guys have such awesome career. Like, look at their stats. And a lot of these guys played. Some guys played for Shaq St. Mary's. Guys played 5-year dub careers. And then I was kind of getting a raspberry. So, what did you play last year? I'm like, in Dryden. So it's no, it's really cool though to be able to play with these guys, and I can feel myself getting way better. Getting to the next level with these guys. And they're such good guys, very supportive. Have a rough day and stuff like that, and I think they'll kind of remember, that I haven't quite had the same experience they've had for. I've even playing 6 times a week. I've never done it in my life before, So it's it's interesting. It's definitely a good time though. But I'm sure, a couple of years I'll be the old guy before I know it. So.
Yeah, for sure. And, what's that been like for you, bonding with the older guys on the team this year? Being the younger guy, of course, you have the experience of being way younger than the boys you've played with on a team like the Fort Garry Twins in your career. Of course, being a young guy on the Ice Dogs last year. What's that experience been like for you so far, bonding and getting to know these older guys on the team this season?
It's really awesome because they've been through it all, so they can kind of guide you and they can tell you what's good, what's not good, and what paths they've taken and what paths you should take, kind of thing. So it's nice, having guys being able to talk to you about what they did and what they wouldn't do, because made a path for me, even right now for the Bisons, to shoot my shot when you have it. A lot of guys and the Twins wish they did that too, and because a lot of them were in MJ teams. They tried to go back to the MM. Then they're kind of like, I probably should have shot my shot while I was there, So a lot of them were telling me, make as far as you can before you want to settle up with the Twins. So it was, it's been nice with the older guys. And Dryden was a young team when I was there too. A lot of 18-year-olds. yeah, a few 20 guys right there again were super awesome. They were all committing to D3 schools and stuff. So it was nice. Also, it's nice to see your vets move on. As much as they're watching you grow, you're watching them go to the next level too. So it's really cool seeing those guys develop.
Right. What's the experience been like for you so far? Balancing your school schedule along with the team workouts that you're doing with the team, and just the games that you guys are playing and the practices you guys have.
Yeah. The first 2 months were tough. They were very tough. I took a year off school to go play in Dryden, and it's definitely when you don't get home till about 12:30. You're starting school, and you're already gassed, and you're kind of like, well, I got to eat, I got to shower, so you don't start work till about 1:30, and it's easy to slack off. It's easy to put in the work in the morning and slack off school. So it's been a tough schedule to get used to. But now I'm finding a rhythm, and I wasn't dressing the first half of the season. We had Liam Hughes was a great goalie, and then he actually just left to go play in the ECHL. So now it's myself and Jeremy Lanks. It's been an honor getting to dress on the bench with these guys too and stuff. And with the games on the weekend, it's busy too, right? So you're right back in games Friday night, Saturday morning, so it's a big gap in school you're missing. So you got to kind of catch up on the Sundays that you have off. So
yeah. What are you taking right now for school? And are you just taking a variety of classes in U1, or are you focusing on something more specific?
Yeah, I'm a little stuck right now. I actually do boat mechanics in the summer, and then for university, I'm just taking a bunch of mixes, because I'm actually kind of leaning towards mechanics. They don't have that at U of M, so I'm kind of see if I like anything else. I'm a bit of a spread, a couple of random classes, just see what I like. But yeah,
right on. Keep your options open. I mean, you're young. You're 1 year younger than me, which is crazy playing university hockey, which is awesome for you this season. But have you had a chance to play in any game action this year? Have you just been on the bench? What's been the story there?
Yeah, I going into it, Mike told me, said, hey, we have and they have two great goalies. We had Liam Hughes, we had Jeremy Lang, both great goalies. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. An exhibition though, I got to play against the Winnipeg Ice. Winnipeg Ice. We played an exhibition game against them. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool getting to play in the dub level against those guys. And I actually got some action against U of Regina. I got into a half a game against U of R for exhibition. And so Liam just left to go sign pro. So now I kind of have a chance to, get on the bench and maybe, who knows, right, get some game action. I'm excited for the second half of the season. We're in a playoff push right now. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and playing the Winnipeg Ice, I mean, that's been like the best team or one of the best teams in the WHL. Just talk about how surreal that experience was playing against those guys in the Western Hockey League in that game.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I was trying to show it, it says goal, you have to be confident, and composed, and I can stop these guys. Going into it, I was like, man, this is cool. I get to play against this dub team here. It was awesome. I actually played pretty well. I felt pretty confident against them, and it was really good. It was I guess we were against Connor Geeky there, and was dressed for them and stuff like that. So some big names, right? You always see in the draft projections, and you're kind of like, well, I'm playing this guy right now. Yeah. So it was neat. It was cool.
Surreal experience for sure. Yeah, I had a chance to actually interview Connor, and he's a heck of a hockey player. That team's absolutely stacked, and awesome that you were able to hold your own against a team as stacked and skilled as the Winnipeg Ice. But, seems like you're a confident goaltender. I mean, confidence is probably the biggest thing as a goaltender, right? Being able to, if you let a goal in, shake it off and, think about stopping the next one. Talk about, your game as a goaltender, how you feel like it's going to be able to benefit you in terms of having success when you do end up getting more opportunities at the university level playing for the Bisons.
Yeah, this year has been a big push year for me. Going from junior A to university, these guys, they pick spots they don't even know are there. They always find a way to get the puck past you. It seems so. It's been a lot of growing pains so far for me, changing my game to be more patient, and keeping your shoulders up. And because these guys will pick you apart up top if you're not aware of it, right? Because their shots are just, they play a dub career, then it's 5 years after their dub career, you guys are, still playing hockey. So they figure out pretty quick the trick of the trade. So it's been, it's actually been a lot of growing pains, but now I feel pretty confident in my game again. I'm getting back into the groove with these guys. So it's been a big difference. My goalie coach, Byron Spicks, like I was mentioning earlier, is actually the goalie coach for the Winnipeg Ice as well. So he coaches the Ice and the Bisons. So he's a great coach. He's been helping me a lot, get to the next level. So yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like you're surrounded by a really good staff. Like you said, your goalie coach, Byron, being able to, work with the Winnipeg Ice, also working with you. Talk about how you feel like those things will help you develop, being surrounded by such a good staff, as well as, the players, the talent that you're surrounded by on this team, going to work, going to practice with these boys day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, it's even getting, playing with Jeremy Lincoln, Liam Hughes, those two guys, they're such good goaltenders, and it's nice watching them play. Not that I copy them move for move, but it's nice seeing what they do and how patient they are and how they make it look so easy. And you're like, holy crap, I'm working so hard here, and pucks are still going in. Like, what's going on here, right? So, but you know what? I've always been surrounded by great coaches, even the Twins there. The Twins were amazing organization to be part of. They were awesome getting me to the next level. Then same with Dryden. I'm right to tell them I was trying out for university, and they were pretty supportive with that too. And so it's been awesome. A lot of these teams are just trying to get players to the next level now, and it's awesome to see. So I've been very grateful for the opportunities I've received, just from my coaches helping me out and get there. Those guys in the Bisons too, they don't go easy on me. They push themselves and they try their hardest on me, and it makes me a lot better. And I like to say I try my hardest against them, right? So it's a good way to make each other better, instead of just trying to go for individual stats. So nobody's there trying to steal points or anything. Everybody's there to make each other better. So it's a great time.
Leaving you off with this question here, Brett, before I let you go and get back to work. For you, obviously this being your rookie season, obviously you want to continue playing with this University of Manitoba Bisons team. What's going to be the goals that you're setting for yourself as the season goes along until the season's end?
Yeah, and not playing many games, it's more of some mental goals. It's more of I want to feel more confident in practice. I want to feel like I'm in better shape in practice. Not so much I want to get 4 shutouts by the end of the season. Because the goals are more of how I'm going to feel by the end of the year if I feel like I'm able to compete. Because at the start of the year, I felt I'm in the team and I was like, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to? So it's more of some mental goals, as in if I'm going to feel confident going to a game, feeling confident in tryouts next year to be maybe a backup or get some games in next year, so it's just going to be, I think some goals for me this year are just going to be being comfortable in net and feeling confident if I get a chance to play some games, so.
Right on. Well, Brett, keep at it. You got such a, confident mentality, which is awesome. And humble person as well, which is great. And it was great to meet you on this Tuesday morning on this edition of Coffee with Graeme. Best of luck to you and the team moving forward in the rest of the season, and for yourself as your University of Manitoba Bisons career moves along here. Hope to talk to you in the future. But until then, man, you stay safe, take care, and like I said, best of luck moving forward this year.
Yeah, thanks, Graeme. Thanks for having me, man. It's been an honor. Yeah, hopefully I get to talk to you soon.
Yeah, of course, man. You take care.
All right, have a good one.
And what a guy, Brett Murphy, joining this edition of Coffee with Graeme. And wow, getting to play against the Winnipeg Ice, as stacked as that team is with all the talent, and holding his own in there. Pretty surreal stuff, from the MMJHL with the Fort Garry Twins, now playing university hockey, playing some pretty darn good competition, as Brett mentioned. But coming up after this next commercial break, I'm going to be back to give you guys some more league report, talking about what's been happening in the MMJHL, the past scores from the past week/weekend, as well as talking about the standings in the league, where these teams are sitting, as well as the scoring leaders in terms of the point leaders, the goal leaders, the assist leaders, as well as the goaltending win leaders in the league at this point. And also going to be talking about another female hockey league, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League. Talk about the similar stuff, the past week/weekend of games, the standings, the point leaders, the goal leaders, the assist leaders, as well as the win leaders in that league. You're watching Coffee with Graeme on ASTV Productions. I'll be back for more with League Report after this commercial break. Stick around. back to Coffee with Graeme here on ASTB Productions. Brett Murphy, goaltender, first-year goaltender for the University of Manitoba Bisons, joining me on this edition of the show. And with Brett being a 2002 born goaltender, a 19-year-old cracking a university roster, like he said, with so many old guys with the experiences. Well, not old guys, older guys that, have their experiences that where they've played and stuff like that. Is just crazy that he's getting this opportunity. Not crazy because he's earned it for sure, but just amazing, surreal for him being able to play against teams like the Winnipeg Ice, the U of R team, University of Regina. And yeah, great that Brett is loving every minute of it. Big thanks to him, as well as Ben Coppinger for joining today's show, as well as, of course, the first guest on today's show, my main man, Cody Wall, on Off the Wall with Cody. But diving into the last part of today's edition of Coffee with Graeme, might be taking another commercial break after this. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to be first giving you guys another edition of League Report. Of course, I did an edition of it earlier on in the show, talking about the MFHL, the past scores from the past weekend in the games that were played in the MFHL, as well as the standings where the teams are sitting, as well as talking about, the stats for these teams in terms of how these teams are doing statistically in terms of the goals for they've scored in total, as well as the goals against, and talking about showing you guys the points leaders, as well as the goal leaders and assist leaders in the league, as well as the goaltenders who have the most wins so far, top 5 in each of those categories in terms of the leaders for, in the stats in the MFHL. We got a comment. It's one of those scammers. I don't know what she sent me. I don't know. You're getting blocked there. Some people send codes and stuff in the comments here, and I just end up blocking them. Some nonsense, some trash. Not going to deal with that. But yeah, let's get into it here. The past weekend/week of games in the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League. And just got to find it here. Here we go. I'm going to pause it. So going back to last Wednesday, we saw some cancellations in the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League. 3 games, as you guys have seen, all with the Notre Dame Hounds being involved. Not sure what's going on with the COVID situation there. Maybe Notre Dame has COVID. It's looking pretty evident by just looking at the games here, as all of their games were canceled. They were supposed to play 2 different opponents. But yeah, looking at the games that actually happened, looking back at last Thursday, the Saskatoon Stars ended up beating the Battleford's Sharks 6-3. The Regina Rebels ended up beating the Weyburn Goldwings on Saturday, moving into the weekend action now with a score of 8-0. And then continuing in on Saturday, of course, the second game that was played on Saturday in the league, the Swift Current Wildcats winning in a very close game by looking at the score, with a 2-1 victory over the Prince Albert Northern Bears. And then the Regina Rebels continuing their dominance this season, playing a Weyburn Goldwings team that is last place in the league, winning that game on Sunday, on January 16th, 2 days ago, 11-2. And now moving into the standings in the league. So you're looking at it here, the Regina Rebels, yeah, they continue their strong season. 2 commanding wins over the Weyburn Goldwings, as you guys see Weyburn with a 1-17-0-1 record, as they are the last place team in the league. But Regina, polar opposite from Weyburn, they are 14-1-1-2 in the league. Look at those goals for and goals against. That's absolutely phenomenal stuff from Regina. But they sit in first place. The Swift Current Wildcats got 6 points over the Notre Dame Hounds for second place in the league. Of course, Swift Current with a 12-7-3-0 record, 68 goals for them, 43 goals against. Notre Dame has played the least amount of games in the league by far, with only 14 games played so far. Of course, they would have played more this past weekend, would have gotten to 17, but due to their games getting canceled, I assume due to COVID-19. That's my assumption. I'm not too sure. I'll get some clarification for you guys on that on Thursday night's edition of Coffee with Graeme. But Notre Dame, nonetheless, a very good team this season. 11-1-1 on the year. 56 goals for, 20 goals against, which is just absolutely sensational for them as well. And then you guys look at it, Saskatoon, the Stars in fourth place in the league with a 9-6-1-1 record, 48 goals for, 39 against, and the Prince Albert Northern Bears in fifth place with a 5-11-1-2 record. Quite a drop off from them in Saskatoon. 11-point difference in the standings as Prince Albert sits in fifth place in the league with 44 goals for and 60 goals against. That number being 6-0, 60 as you guys see there. And Battleford's, the Sharks there, 1 point behind Prince Albert from tying them in the standings with a 5-14-1-1 record, 34 goals for, 64 against. And then you guys see Weyburn there in last place by quite a bit with a 1-17-0-1 record, as mentioned before, 14 goals for and 97 against. Moving into the league leaders now in the league, and same old story. Alexis Petford continuing her amazing season, 26 goals, 25 assists, 51 points in 17 games played. Let's calculate how many points per game Alexis Petford has at this point in the season. We're going to go 51 divided by 17. That's 3 points per game. She must have had a huge weekend, because the last time I checked her stats, she was at 40 points, so must have had 11 points in those 2 games in total, which is just sensational. And her teammates not doing too bad on the season as well. As you guys see, the top 3-point getters in the Saskatchewan League, Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA League, all top 3 in points in Ali Gerard with 9 goals, 25 assists for 34 points in 17 games played. And then Greta Henderson with 16 goals, 13 assists for 29 points in the league. And then you look at in 17 games. And then Jersey Watain for the Swift Current Wildcats, 16 goals, 9 assists for 25 points in 22 games played. And then once again, Regina in the top of the league in terms of their point leaders for points. Megan Hayhurst with 25 points, 11 goals, 14 assists for in 18 games played, 25 points in those games. And yeah, probably going to be seeing more Regina here coming up, more Regina players. You guessed it, Alexis Petford, 3 Regina players in the top 5 for goals. Alexis Petford with 26 goals in 17 games. Greta Henderson with 16 goals in 17 games. Tied with her is Jersey Watain, but Jersey has 5 more games played with 16 goals in 22 games played. Megan Hayhurst with 11 goals in 18 games played. And then Sadie Keller for the Swift Current Wildcats, 2 Swift Current Wildcats players in the top 5 for goals. Sadie tied with Megan for goals in 11 goals in 22 games played. My apologies, folks. For some reason, every time I do league report, my nose gets very itchy. It's got some... Got to do this. I'm sorry, folks. My nose is just killing me. I don't know why this always happens when I'm doing league report. This happened last time, but those are the goal leaders in the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League. Looking at the assist leaders, there she is again. Alexis Petford, 25 assists, leads the league. Tied with Ali Gerard for assists with 25, her teammate. And then Megan Hayhurst with 14 assists in 18 games played. Samantha Thompson for Swift Current, the Wildcats, with 14 assists in 22 games played. And Greta Henderson, 13 assists in 17 games played. 4 Regina Rebels players in the top 5 in terms of assists this season in the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League. And then taking a look at the goaltenders, the leaders in wins this year, it's going to be Carly Leonard for the Swift Current Wildcats with the most wins in the league. She's got 10 wins on the season with only 2 losses. Pretty darn good save percentage as well. Then you look at it, of course, Regina being here. two of their goaltenders. There are two goaltenders, both 2-3 in terms of wins. Chloe Sorensen with 8 wins, 0 losses on the year, and 3 shutouts. Peyton Schlamp, 7 wins, 3 losses on the season with 4 shutouts. So both of those goaltenders shutting out opponents pretty frequently. But looking at it, Michaela Kreisman, I'm not sure how you pronounce that name exactly. My apologies if you're watching this, Michaela. 7 wins, only 2 losses for her on the season. And then after that, there's a tie for the 5th most wins in the league throughout goaltenders in the league. And Eva Filipova with 6 wins, 2 losses in those games that she's played. And then her teammate, Bailey Lindsay, with 6 wins on the season, no losses on the season in the 6 games that she's played. All these goaltenders having very good save percentages. So that is it for the Saskatchewan female U18 AAA Hockey League. Now moving over to the last league to report on in today's edition of League Report here on the show, talking about the MMJHL. And looking at the MMJHL, just gotta put this thing up here. There we go. The Coffee with Graeme graphic, the overlay in the top left corner there. But looking at it on January 12th, the St. Vital Junior Victorias winning 8-3 over the Stonewall Jets. The very next day, St. Vital playing at home, losing 5-3 to the St. James Junior Canucks. Moving over to Friday's action, where there was 1 game postponed between the Raiders Junior Hockey Club and the St. Boniface Riels. 3 games were played, as you guys can see. This past Friday, the Charleswood Hawks with a huge shootout win over the Pembina Valley Twisters, 6-5, as Charleswood was at home for that game. The Fort Garry Twins taking care of business in their matchup between the River East Royal Knights with a 9-0 win. And the winning streak for St. James, the Junior Canucks, ended against the Transcona Railer Express, as the Railer Express ended up winning 5-4. St. James posted on their Facebook when that game happened, after that game was finished, that their win streak stopped at 24 games. So a very impressive and a strong run for St. James, the Junior Canucks, on their win streak. I feel like that could be a record, to be honest, but I'm not too sure. I could be wrong on that. Just making an assumption there that isn't factual. So don't take that to heart there. Take that with a grain of salt. I'd have to check up on that, but I'll follow up with you guys on that on Thursday's episode to confirm, assuming I don't forget. But moving into Sunday's action in the league, we saw 3 games that were played. The Pembina Valley Twisters winning 4-2 over the Transcona Railer Express, a huge win for Pembina Valley at this point in the season. The Fort Garry Twins were at home against the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, and the Raiders Junior Hockey Club ended up winning that game 4-3 in a shootout, and the Charleswood Hawks beating the River East Royal Knights 5-3 in that game, in the final game of the weekend in the MM. Now moving into the standings, how these teams are matching up, how they're stacking up. Well, there's quite a bit of drop in a lot of parts of these standings. Well, in a couple parts of these standings. But looking at the top 2 teams in the league in terms of points at this point in the year, the St. James Junior Canucks, a point ahead of the Transcona Railer Express, as you guys can see here. Both teams with the only teams with 20 plus wins on the season, with 20 wins on the season, as a matter of fact, the only 2 teams to reach that mark so far. At this point, the Pembina Valley Twisters sit in 3rd place, 10 points back of the Transcona Railer Express, 11 points back of the St. James Junior Canucks with an 18-6-4 record. And then after that, the St. James Junior Canucks, the St. Vital Junior Victorias with a 16-8-3 record. They are at 35 points. And then after that, there's 8-point drop off from the Vics and the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, as the Raiders Junior Hockey Club sit in 5th place. And then after that, the standings tighten up from the 5th place team all the way to the 8th place team. The River East Royal Knights with 26 points on the season, 13-18 on the year. nice to see them in a playoff spot after all the years that they've struggled to get out of the bottom of the standings. But the Fort Garry Twins, 2 points behind the River East Royal Knights with a 10-13-4 record, 24 points. And the Charleswood Hawks, they've moved into a playoff spot with a 10-19-1 record. Of course, the Stonewall Jets, 5 points off from tying Charleswood. They're currently not in a playoff spot. And then you guys see the worst place team in the league, the last place team in the league, the St. Boniface Riels, in last place with a 6-20-1 record with 13 points. And then you guys see the goals for, goals against here, the home records, the away records, the power play percentages, the PK percentages, if you guys want to check them out for yourselves, because the standing is going to be disappearing in just a moment here as we get into the league leaders in points, goals, assists, and the goaltending leaders. Check out the MMJHL's website at MMJHL.ca. Just got to clarify for you guys that it is .ca. Let's take a look here. Yeah, .ca. MMJHL.ca is where you guys can check out the full standings as I showed you guys here. But if you guys want to take some time to take a look at all the stats in depth for yourself, see who has the best power play percentage, best PK percentage, most goals for, least goals against, or most goals against, you guys can toggle that and manipulate that like you want on the website. But we're moving on into the league leaders now in the MMJHL. Looking at it for points, there's a tie for the league lead in points with Curtis, Luke, and TJ. I'm not going to pronounce your last name, man. I don't want to butcher it out of respect for you. But TJ and Curtis Luke with the league lead in points with 48 apiece. Curtis Luke playing 3 games less than TJ. And is tied for the league lead in points. So a very good season from Curtis. Connor Grunston, very well-known player. He's been on the show here twice on Coffee with Graeme in the MMJHL. He's been having a very good season for Transcona. 46 points in 28 games played, 22 goals, 24 assists. Tyrone Willen with 41 points in 29 games played, 19 goals, 22 assists, the most points out of any rookie in the league so far this season. And Jason Kochton, or Kochon, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, I'm sorry, 39 points in 29 games played, sitting 5th in the league in terms of points. Moving into the goal leaders in the league now. Curtis Luke leading the league in goals, tied with Connor Grunston for the league lead in goals, actually 22 for both Curtis and Connor. Griffin Height, pretty sure that's how you pronounce your name. My apologies again if I got that wrong, but 21 goals in 26 games played. Ethan Lewis for the Charleswood Hawks with 20 goals in 24 games played. TJ, you see him there. He is tied for 5th in the league in goals with 19 goals, along with Tyrone Willen. And then looking at the assist leaders here in the MMJHL, TJ leading the league in assists for the Pembina Valley Twisters with 29 assists in 28 games played, just over an assist per game, which is very impressive. And then 3 assists back of him is Curtis Luke with 26 assists in 25 games played. He's also 1 game over an assist per game, 1 more assist than games played for himself. And then Matthew Smith, who is a former Stonewall Jets player, must have gotten traded to the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, has 25 assists in 28 games played. Of course, Ben Coppinger, a guest on today's show, is tied with Matthew for the in assists with 25 assists in 27 games played. And then Connor Grunston and Jason Kochton with 24 assists each, tied for 5th in the league, as you guys see in the amount of games that these players have played. Pretty impressive numbers from these playmakers in the league, the elite playmakers in the league so far this season in the MMJHL, as all those players looking to continue the great season they've been having for sure, heading into the latter half of this year and into playoffs. But looking at the goaltending leaders now in the MMJHL, Noah Gilbert, most wins in the league with 15. He only has 2 losses on the season in regulation, 3 overtime losses, a .909 save percentage, 2.72 goals against average, and the best goaltending tandem in the league, I'd say, for the Transcona Railer Express doing their thing. Justin Powers, one more win than his counterpart in Dylan Arnold. Justin Powers with 13 wins on the season, only 2 losses. 937 save percentage, a 1.68 goals against average. And Dylan Arnold, you could argue his numbers are even better, as he has 2 less games played, but a 941 save percentage, a 1.53 goals against average for 12 wins and only 1 loss on the season. Both Justin and Dylan don't have any losses in overtime. But Martin Gannon, or Gagnon, I'm not sure how he pronounces his name, but I'm gonna say Martin Gagnon, with 11 wins on the season, 4 losses, 0 overtime losses or extra time losses. OT losses, I think, in this league mean either OT or in a shootout. But he's got 11 wins, 4th most wins in the league out of any goaltender, a 900 save percentage, and a 2.80 goals against average. And then you look at Miles Minor for the Fort Garry Twins. He has 10 wins on the season, 5 losses in regulation, 3 extra time losses for a 921 save percentage, 2.86 goals against average. And looking at the shutouts, all of these players have put out shutouts this season. All of these goaltenders have put shutouts up on the board. Of course, Noah Gilbert with 1 shutout on his season. Justin Powers and Dylan Arnold combining for 5 shutouts collectively. Justin with 2 shutouts on his year, Dylan with 3, and Martin Gagnon with 1 shutout on his season, and Miles Minor for the Fort Garry Twins with 2 shutouts on his season so far. So that is going to do it for this week's edition, or this episode's edition of League Report. Seems like there's been a lot of trades that have been going down at this point in the year in the MMJHL. So I'm going to compile a list of trades that have been made and report that to you guys on Thursday night's edition. It's Tuesday morning right now, man. I'm losing my mind on this Tuesday morning, but I'll report that to you guys on Thursday night on that edition of Coffee with Graeme, as well as giving you guys, a list of games, the schedule from throughout the leagues, games that have happened from, if games have happened from throughout this time until the next episode of games that are happening and are going to be happening, or games that have happened and are going to be happening heading into the weekend, and games that have been played in the week potentially. But yeah, that's going to do for this edition of Coffee with Graeme, folks. I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth. Thanks for sticking with me for an hour and 42 minutes so far on this Tuesday morning, everybody. Special thanks once again goes out to Cody Wall for joining Off the Wall with Cody once again on this Tuesday morning, as well as Ben Coppinger, who's the team captain of the St. Vital Junior Victorias, for joining the show, second on the show, and first-year goaltender in Brett Murphy for the University of Manitoba Bisons men's hockey team for joining the show as the final guest on today's episode of Coffee with Graeme. Special thanks to you, the viewer, as well, for tuning in today to Coffee with Graeme, sticking with me on this long edition of the show. But let's be honest, every edition of Coffee with Graeme gets longer and longer every time, it seems. But yeah, special thanks to you guys for tuning in and sticking around at this hour and 43 minutes today, going on an hour and 44 minutes in runtime. And also want to give a special shout out to the sponsors of Coffee with Graeme for sponsoring today's episode in Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, Case Financial Group, Evolve Green, Tovey Hockey, and AETI. Coffee with Graeme comes to you guys next on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. You guys can catch that episode on our Facebook and on our website as well. Our website being astvproductions.com and our Facebook being ASTV Productions. Might go live for that episode, might not, might do it pre-recorded this time around, but we'll have to wait and see. So stay tuned for that on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Central Time is when that episode airs, pre-recorded or live. Either way, it's going down at 8 p.m. Central, everybody, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, to see who the guest list will be for that episode, stay tuned on our social media pages, on our Instagram at ASTV Productions, as well as on our Facebook and on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV to see who the guest list will be for Thursday night's episode. But until Thursday night, everybody, I've been your host of Coffee with Graeme, as always, Graeme Forsyth, signing off on this Tuesday morning. Until I see you guys on Thursday night, have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Stay safe out there. Stay warm out there. If you're driving, I'm pretty sure the roads, might not be the best, especially with the snowfall here in Winnipeg, but I could be wrong. Haven't been on the roads since the storm has fallen last night. Been busy doing this show, of course, but, if the roads are bad, stay safe. If it is cold out there, which I'm pretty sure it is, stay warm, stay safe in that way. Stay safe in general. And, until Thursday night, everybody. I'll see you then. Graeme Forsyth, giving you the salute now. Peacing out on this Tuesday morning. Catch you Thursday, everybody.